Okie dokie. Hello, everybody. Hello, friends. It's that time again where on my week off that I have here, we're somehow halfway through it, I'm going to stream some of the interesting or maybe not interesting things that go on behind the scenes at Compiler Explorer. It's worth noting that last night I went out with one of the other Compiler Explorer developers who happens to work with me and maybe had a drink or two too many, so I'm feeling a little bit fragile. So if I'm not firing on all cylinders, you'll perhaps understand where I'm coming from and give me a little bit of slack. And as the coffee kicks in and as I rehydrate, hopefully things will get better. So first of all, you'll notice that I've been playing around with my OBS setup, which means that I can actually talk to you without all of the other junk around. But it also means if I can find the right button, I can switch back to... Yeah, there we go. Oh, and it's showing the wrong screen. That's wrong, isn't it? Well, let's just fix that. This is what happens when you change which machine you are come on. Now I have to remember how you do this. I might have to pause this. I'm so sorry. This is terribly embarrassing. I switched my primary and secondary monitor after I'd started OBS today. There must be a way of editing it without actually causing it to appear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move everything around and maximize something which isn't revealing, because obviously I have a second monitor so that I can have all of the things that come on, how do I change this setting now? How embarrassing. Properties, screen capture, there it is. Properties, which screen? That screen. Okay. Oh no, that was the right screen. I've really confused it by changing these things. There we go. So it had the right screen. Aha! Okay. Back to normal now. Sorry for that. I should always test it without having made sort of a change at the last second. But, you know, I was working right up until I started streaming, so I like to have my primary monitor be the one I'm looking at right now. And that means that all my Alt-Tab stuff appears on that machine. That's kind of what I do in the other ones offhand. But that means all my notifications and things obviously pop up on the wrong screen if I'm streaming. So, live and learn. So, you catch me towards the end of, well, what I hope is the end of getting the startup time of Compiler Explorer under control. The story so far is that I'm trying to make it so that starting fresh instances and doing deployments of our code, like new versions, is smoother and faster than it was. Previously, we had a couple of build steps that would take around 20 minutes, and then the deployment process itself was not necessarily very swift. So trying to fix that up. We're now hopefully in the several minutes, like low number of minutes, from the point at which we submit a piece of code to the point at which we can get it deployed. That being said, at the moment we haven't actually pushed this to the live site. It's only running on our staging environment, which is where I've been testing all this kind of stuff. So I'll kind of try to get all the ducks in a line. I don't need to get the ducks in a line. That doesn't make sense. Poor ducks. Okay. So I now need to find, is there a way to get that? Where are we? Speeding up notes. So here are my notes from speeding up. Yesterday I was using VI, but frankly I was tying myself in knots. So I've just pasted it all into a Google Doc, which is how I generally do this stuff when I'm doing stuff at work. It's always good to have like a kind of stream of consciousness document that explains what you've been doing and what you're thinking so far so that you can remember where the heck you were. So yesterday we did a whole bunch of work. This morning I deployed a couple of extra changes, and I sort of did a breakdown of what where the time goes, and it looks like it would sort of take 14 seconds from boot until the Compiler Explorer service starts running. Then there's sort of 6 seconds of nonsense where we I actually don't know, but I didn't categorize this because the main thing is it takes 48 seconds to mount all of the compilers. So all of our compilers are stored on NFS. For reasons of speed, they're actually squashfs images on NFS. So we mount NFS, which doesn't take any time at all, but then we individually mount each compiler, and that takes a while. And we've been playing around with settings for that. Yesterday, it took, we were doing like trying to mount them all at the same time, which was silly because the poor machine got overloaded and it took longer to like log in and do other stuff. And that was all done in the background. Now I'm doing it synchronously, but I'm doing sort of 16 at a time while we're mounting of the 1,000 odd compilers we've got. So it takes around about 48 seconds, and this is probably an improvement. Then we have to download and unpack the build. This was something which was taking minutes yesterday, but I think it was taking minutes because we were also simultaneously trying to mount all of the compilers at the same time, and the I/O subsystem was completely overwhelmed. But now it just takes 5 seconds. And then something we were working on latterly was the startup time of the application itself, which is now 8 seconds from it was actually, where down here, I've got it somewhere listed. 1624. I don't think I noticed this before. 1624. So yeah, it took 30 seconds before. Now it's down to sort of 8 seconds. And that's because we're no longer doing on-the-fly transpilation from TypeScript to JavaScript. The last thing that we've been doing yesterday was making our build process build Compiler Explorer as a JavaScript artifact from all of the various languages it's actually written in. And that's a good speed up there. What I noticed, though, I was doing some testing on our staging site here, and I noticed that our privacy policy and our cookie policy were sort of flagging themselves as having changed, which is, of course, annoying because everyone has to consent to it again. I'm sure you've seen these things pop up and gone, yes, I have to do this, whatever. Yeah, yes, I agree. We haven't changed those, so we don't want that to happen. So there was a mistake that was made, and so I was fixing the Python code that generates that. And as you can see, hadn't even finished the commit message before my coffee had brewed. So I went off to get it, and then I saw the time, and here we are. So let me find the live stream chat so I can see whatever is going. Am I using a Derek Bannis voiceover? I don't understand what that means, unfortunately. Good morning to everybody. Good afternoon. Good evening, wherever you are. So this is fix up the way we generate our policies, and there's nothing really interesting there. And in fact, I don't need it to run the test because I didn't actually edit anything that would affect it. And now I'm going to push this to my branch, and it looks like the branch is failing now. So first of all, I can't tick this box. I'm keeping track here of things that need to be done to get this branch out. And the checking sponsors, change logs, and the assembly mouse over stuff worked fine. I could get all of those things up. Those were things I knew might be problematic with all the changes we'd made, but this all seems to work perfectly. However, it looks like we had failed the previous build, which I hadn't looked at. So what does this test tell me? It says a whole bunch of indents that are broken. Now, we have been at the same time trying to get some lint and code format styles kind of locked down, and I know that we'd had problems with this. So I think I may have, unfortunately, by merging in main, I may have pulled in something that I wasn't ready. So let's just git fetch, git merge origin main, because I don't believe that I changed this here. So I'm going to ping somebody. I'm just going to paste this in to the chat on the Compiler Explorer Discord to let some folks know. And I don't know how to solve this problem off the top of my head, which is, of course, painful and unfortunate, but it is what it is. So we're going to have to sort of change tack briefly and go back to the main branch, git pull. And are we actually working? Is the main build broken? Let's have a look. Where was the last time we had a main build? Quickbench now supports HTTPS. Is that the head? Yeah, so that did compile okay. So that's very confusing. So I haven't knowingly changed that editor file, but maybe I did. Maybe I did. Let's have a look at this test. It's saying all these things here. Let's look at my differences, because a lot of things happened, and as I say, I'm a bit hungover. So I am going to. Yes, I do sound hungover because I am hungover, as you well know. That's awesome. Oh, thank you, Elmaring. There's no need to apologize. I have no idea about popular culture. So if you're referring to anybody in the media, I mean, I do know of Amber Heard. Somebody mentioned her earlier, but I'm a bit checked out from that kind of stuff. All right. Where was I doing? What was I doing? Pull requests. There we are. And let's have a look at the pull request I've made, which is precompiled TypeScript in release. Look at the files changed and see I did change editor. I don't remember changing the editor. It looks like it has been changed for me. So I can probably revert that file. So I'm going to just put this in, got reformatted. Yeah, this is... So we've got some work to do there, but base compiler has got a change that I want, which I'm going to actually extract this change. This change here is debugging another issue that we've discovered along the way, which has been the story of the week so far. Mostly we've been trying to do simple things and discovering that as you sort of look under the surface layer, there are problems at every aspect. So this change here is me debugging an instance where it appears like we're missing a cache that we should always hit. And if we miss that cache, it can take 20 minutes to start up. And we don't know why yet. I have some sort of vague theories, but if I log the information that I'm putting in here, then I'll be able to determine what is the problem. But that's independent of this whole change, and so I want to extract it and put it as a separate PR. So we'll do that, and I'm going to make a note of that first of all. In fact, I had already made a note. I don't know. Then all of this stuff here looks like so it was base compiler editor.js looks like it just needs to be set back to however it was before, because I didn't make these changes. So I suspect that our pre-commit hooks are slightly overzealous and are currently doing the wrong thing, and that's another problem for us to solve. But for now, let's just try and fix that. So I'm going to git checkout main -- and then what is this? This is static panes editor.js. Love it. Okay. And then if I add git commit, let's see if it re-breaks it. So yes, what happened is that it automatically reapplied that exact same change. And so although I undid yeah, it says, hey, this would be an empty commit because it would undo the change I just made. So I need to git commit -n, which is not a great look and not ideal at all. So this is undo automated but broken changes to editor.js, or is it TS? JS, it is editor.js. Fabulous. Okay. Now, I have to hope that I didn't misremember that and that there isn't actually a change deep buried inside of that editor.js that we do need. I don't think there is. So let's have a look through this. So misc.js, yes, that's just an internal file for IntelliJ, which is the IDE I'm using. I haven't even fired up the IDE yet. There it is. Hooray. App.js, we no longer expect there to be an out dist directory where things go, because we build everything in place now. That's a change we made yesterday. It's great. That looks great to me. The build dist script is huge. This is the main meat of the change. I'm going to go past that for a second. Util_politic now, this is something which generates those cookie policies, and hopefully I've fixed that up now so that they generate the policies exactly the way that they were generated before, and therefore it won't trigger the pop-up saying, hey, the policy's changed, you need to re-agree to it. So that's something we're going to test in a minute once we get a build that's green. Base compiler, right, might as well extract this while we're thinking of it. So let's do that now. Actually, let's hold that thought. Let's finish the review while we're here. We made some changes to the TS config, and our changes are to change the include and exclude to pick up things rooted in app.js, and then to allow JS. And we output everything into the out dist directory. Fabulous. And then some stuff here to separate out where we put the manifest and the Webpack content. So the Webpack content now goes out into out Webpack static, and the manifest goes into the out dist. So that we now build, as we want to deploy, we separate the unchanging hashed contents of all of our various oh, excuse me, my phone is ringing. But it's a suspiciously similar to my phone number phone call, so that's not going to be for me really. We now, we have a CDN that serves up all of our static content. So we're going to put that in one place, and then the rest of the code that's going to actually get shipped off to the various machines goes somewhere else. When you're running locally, all of that stuff is kind of combined, but when we build, we want to build into two separate places. Previously, we had a lot of complicated exclusions and exclusions and tarring two tarballs up from two different directories. This seems to, and this is something we need to test, seems to work, and it's a little bit simpler. So we've got two things on the pin here. I'm going to say that these have been viewed. We've got to extract this, and we've got to look through that build dist. I'm going to not worry about looking through the build dist just now. I am going to quickly look at extracting a change. So what am I going to do here? I'm going to git checkout main, git pull, wunderbar, git checkout, that should be mg log cache hits. And then we will steal that cache hit change, which was in which file? Base compiler there. So git checkout, and then I'm just going to say from mg startup tsc dash dash, and then this thing handily puts it in the clipboard so I can quickly do it. Someone says 20 minutes. Yes, 20 minutes. We have to run 1,000 compilers, and those 1,000 compilers are on a network file system. And so it can take a very long time to run those compilers, just to run dash dash help target, dash dash version, all the things that we want to do. That information, of course, doesn't change very often, which is why we have a cache, and we should just hit the cache because it's not very often that the compiler changes. Anyway, there we are. We've got this log cache hits. Now, I don't think this is something we should turn on for everyone, this logging of the cache hits. Where is the file? Base compiler, that's right. So base compiler.js, whoops. And then where is our one and only change? Oh, I don't know how to make you go away. It says failed to load plugin import declared in whatever. All right, we're going to ignore that for now. We're changing lots of things at once here, which is unfortunate. This is a massive file, which is a terrible code smell. But we're looking for cache. And then here is our logger.info. Now we could potentially muck around with various logger warning levels and things, but I think to make it easier myself, I'm going to use our property system to determine whether or not we should log. So I'm going to say if the CE props for log compiler cache cache accesses, naming is hard, defaulting to false, then we want to do this, please. And so we should then enable this in our configure compiler explorer.amazon.properties doink and somewhere in this file here we're going to say log compiler cache accesses equals true. Now before I get too excited I should test this locally, so I'm going to edit the compiler explorer.local.properties. First of all I'm going to run it without setting that. I'm going to paste that in and comment it out. Let's just make sure I can do make dev, and I'm going to say extra arguments equals land. Oh, whoops, we don't want debug. That's going to be far too much information for us. So here I'm running Compiler Explorer in development mode, and I'm also just restricting it to C++ because my local setup has every language under the sun and takes forever to start up if I let it. Although again, with the caching, that should just be very quick, but we have a latent bug still. Okay, off that goes, and we didn't see any logging, and nothing went wrong. And I comment that back in again and save it, and automatically it'll restart because I did make dev, and make dev watches for changed files and will restart the application if anything it thinks is important has changed. There we go, fantastical. So we can see that the cache indeed get hit. And so while we're here, we're sort of talking some of the things that are potential problems are the key to the cache is this blob here. So we have a modification time of the compiler, we have the name of the compiler, we have the arguments we want to pass to the compiler, and then we have some options about how we're going to run that compiler. And it is the options, I think, that are going to be causing us problems. As you can see here, at least one of the things that we've got is my environment, which includes my path and this LD path. Now those obviously are important because changing them will potentially change the output for the compiler. But if we're oversensitive to this, or if we have things that add themselves to the path or stuff like that, then maybe, just maybe, that's what causes the issue when suddenly our cache doesn't get hit. Or if there's some non-determinism about how this is generated, then the hash that we effectively calculate from this string will be different and we'll get a miss. All right, that's sort of preempting forward. Oh, another thing you'll notice here is this, the fact that we log that we've started up, and then afterwards we see that wine, which is a whole subsystem devoted to pretending to be Windows, which only a few of our compilers use, that used to be a synchronous blocking, like 15-second startup process where we were waiting for wine to come up and sort of start its fake Windows. We don't do that anymore. It's now asynchronous. And as soon as we try to run a wine compiler, it will block waiting for that to finish. But most of the time, if we hit the cache, and if nobody has requested a wine compiler in like the first 10 seconds of startup, then we are ready to go. And there's no need to block everyone on waiting for wine to get ready. So that's another speed up that we made. So all of that looks absolutely lovely. And so I'm going to add dot, and I'm going to git commit -m, and then optionally log the compiler cache keys and accesses. Oh, and now of course it is likely to, and we're going to watch it and see if this gives us a clue for our other problem, see if it has added the editor.js file. Yeah, whatever. I now have to wait 100 years for my test to pass, which is good because now I can have some coffee. Oh boy. Off it goes. We have quite a lot of tests that are related to the way that our parser works. It probably would make sense for us to extract those parsers into like a separate area of the repo where we could just say we don't need to run them unless something changed there. Right, okay, 2 files changed, 4 insertions. Let's have a look at the log. Git show. Okay, so it didn't reformat editor. That makes me worry that there is actually a change in the editor.js that I'm missing, which caused it to reformat it before. So, you know, hold that thought. Why is this angry? The IDE has said that there's a problem with this particular file, and the problem is void function return value is used. Well, that seems like a problem. I don't really understand TypeScript. Okay, we're going to get this pushed. I realize there's about 3 things going on at once here, which is how these streams have gone so far. But we're just having a look here. Oh, look, I can request somebody who's on the stream to look at it, but I'm just going to do this out of courtesy. It's more of an FYI pull request than a genuine pull request, otherwise I'll be blocked forever and a day. So here we're logging compiler cache accesses, and if we're saying, like, if the C props for log cache accesses is set to something true, and if it's not there, we'll assume it's false, then we're going to log out the key as a JSON string and whether we hit the cache or whether we missed the cache. So that seems pretty good to me. I can't review my own changes, which is fair enough. Because we've only changed these 2 files, I'm not going to worry about tests failing, and so I'm not actually even going to wait for all this. I'm just going to squash and merge, and that's on me if I've broken the head. That's not something I would typically do. I'd wait, but let's try and do one thing at a time. So let's go back to our start TSC, and then what we can do is we can git fetch, and we can git merge origin main, and we're going to have a merge conflict because we've made the same change or a very similar change. And if I now go to the IDE and say, hey, can you resolve those conflicts, we're going to get a pop-up where we can see on the left-hand side we've got the code that we wrote, and then we've got the code that we just brought in from the other side, which has the if statement in it, and we want that one. and we don't want our code. This is the new code that we've just made is better than the one we already had. So let's apply that, and now we're in a good state. Git status, and the only two files have changed are those two things, so I feel confident in committing that. Drum roll. And the test will run again and take several decades. Compiler deplorer, yeah, it does feel that way sometimes. All right, so I also have a another streaming session later this afternoon where anyone who knows Meeting C++, Meeting C++ has a quarterly tool and book fair, kind of an online one. So I'll be at that. So if you Google for Meeting C++ on Meetup, or do any kind of internet search, then you will find that, and that will be in about 3 hours time, I hope, 2.5 hours time. So I'm going to have a hard stop to actually have some lunch today, as opposed to yesterday where I just kept going and going and going until I fell over, and then I went to the pub with Austin. So it wasn't a particularly good look for me yesterday. Funny story, I don't know actually if I got a mark on my face here, but after I got home last night, I mean, I was tipsy. It wasn't a big night, but I'm definitely feeling it because I'm a poor old grumpy man. But I had to take the dog outside to use the loo, and so he was wandering around, and then he bolted after a rabbit or something that was out there and pulled me along, and I tripped over, fell on an old chair and broke the chair. And I came in and my wife looked at me like I had a cut on my face, covered in mugs. What happened to you? I'm like, oh, don't ask. So yeah, that's it's not my finest hour. And now the cat's yowling in the background. Gosh. All right, so we are looking at this pre-compiled TypeScript in releases build. Let's go to GitHub Actions and have a look at we want to look at the 2634. Is that the one? No, that's not the right one. That is the PR build. That's the one that's checking that if we merged it, everything would be fine. And what we want to do is we want to look at the 26331. Is that it? No, that's not the merge. It's got to be why. What was the most recent one? Merge. Yeah, it would be that one. So this one will get the name of the PR. These ones get the name of the commit. So we're looking for the startup TSC compiler explorer 2633. This one, because this one will build a test and a distribution. And another change we made yesterday or Monday, whenever it was, it's all blurring into one, was to separate out the distribution build, which took a few minutes, and run it in parallel with our test, as opposed to waiting until the tests are completed to then build the distribution. Because very often the tests pass and then you build the distribution and then you deploy the distribution. And right now we might as well just work. Oh my golly. So at the moment we are waiting for GitHub to give us an agent. That's unfortunate. So maybe we've used up all of the let me have a look at the settings over here. What do we got going on here? There is a way of seeing how many. Maybe it's on another page. Maybe it's in the organization level. I forget. But either other open source projects are, where are we? Sorry, I've forgotten where I am. Actions are using up the GitHub Actions runners or not. But oh yeah, I guess this is the difference. You can see the ones that are running have the wee circle that's going round. That makes sense. Well, yes, thank you. Hey, Luca as well. I don't know if you missed my story there, but feeling a bit worse for wear today. So we're gonna have to wait for resources here, and that's a shame because that is pretty much it. During the meanwhile, we can go and have a look at what on earth is going on. So let's have a look at the environment here. So the environment status, yes, see, this is our staging environment. So the other end of this window here, where it says staging across here, you go to godbot.org/staging. And if you're on this live stream, do note that I will be looking at log files that pertain to the staging. And so please don't visit staging unless you want 3/4 of your IP address to potentially turn up in the stream. So kind of, you've been warned. I'll try not to make it a big deal. It's a small font anyway, but I do need to look at this window, for example, here. So here you can see there's me clicking on bits and pieces. And this is like the log output. And so you can see that previously we were logging cache accesses with this particular version, and it was a hit. And so far we've had no misses. And that's the problem. One of the issues here is that I've kind of put the logging in after the effect. I haven't got anything to go by to work out when we're missing the cache all the time. But as you can see, like the path here looks reasonable to me. Oh, it's got home in it. I wonder if there's something funny about having the home in there. That is really unusual. I don't know what's going on there. LD path, sure. Yeah, it's very confusing. I mean, it's also possible that we might just kill the path and the whole env in the cache key on the basis of if we really, really, really need that level of sensitivity, like either the thing worked or it didn't, in my view, right? If -- help runs, then it probably will give me the same output every time. I don't know that any of the things that we put in this particular cache should be sensitive to paths and environment variables to actually change their output, right? My thought would be either it runs and it's good, or it failed, in which case if it fails we don't put anything in the cache. So there's an argument that just says let's just take that env out of the cache key, which I'm talking myself into right now, as you can hear. Do you have a chat open somewhere? Oh yeah, okay, I might do. I don't think so at the moment. Discord is on what's its face, it's on streaming mode. Oh, I've got Signal open, but nothing is on that, but I will close that now. And what else have I got that might be generating messages? Yeah, Discord is up, but it's in streamer mode. So whatever glonk or whatever else you can hear is, I apologize. I also don't even actually know why it's capturing the audio from the computer at all, because I don't need it. I'm not planning on doing anything there. I mean, I could do some things that involve audio, because there's some fun things I would like to do. Oh, we're running now. I've padded. So if anyone recognizes the sound, and if it is Discord, then I'm going to put myself on Do Not Disturb mode as well, in case that helps and clear everything. I'm just trying all the things. So yeah, as you can tell, I'm not very good at this. This is not my professional day job. I'm quite a way off it being my day job. But we're now building over here. So the build distribution worked. That's great, because that was the nuts and bolts of what the change is about. The other part is sort of coincident. We don't really... I'm not expecting a test to fail or to have changed in any meaningful way. I guess while we're waiting and I'm padding, actually, we can look at the diff, the pull request again. So let's bring the pull request up, and I'll move you over here so that I can see when you're done. And I will find this pre-compiled TypeScript, and then I will look at the one thing. Right, we need to do this. I need to check that that is actually working. That is the privacy policy and cookie policy. That was the change I made before I went live. I want to see if that worked. We've looked at most of these things here. So the main change is the way we build our distribution. So we used to have make targets for this, and then decided against it, or was argued against it. So yeah, people saying it sounds like Discord. Yeah, that's really odd. I have about 400 different Discord things open, like chats, but yeah, I can mute this audio. I am using OBS. I need to work out how to do that. Oh, yes, look at this. There we go. Thank you. I think I've muted the desktop audio, which is what you want, right? Excellent. All right. Tell me if you hear it again. And then, we'll move to deploy. So coming back to the build script used to rely on a lot of stuff coming exogenously, and now it builds everything in place. So we are going to clear out our output directory, and we're going to run from within that output directory. And here we're going to output the git hash and the release that we used to do. We're going to copy judiciously. Previously we used like a tar whitelist, blacklist of things that we could either include or exclude. But here I'm just explicitly building the outdist directory to look like the thing I want to tar up exactly as I want. That makes it easier to test and reason about because I can just cd to that directory and then run it there afterwards instead of having to retrospectively unpack a tarball just to look at what happened. So we copy some stuff in. We delete local storage data, which is only a hangover from if you happen to have tried to package up Compiler Explorer yourself and you've been running at local version, it would copy some of your links there, which you wouldn't want. We now create the auto-generated files. Now, previously, we were running 2 scripts with no extra parameters, and now we're going to sort of do them in place where we copy from our policy documents, which like our privacy policy and our cookie policy, and we actually use the script that does the last update, which is we put in, to copy the source to our destination. So that's the change we made here. And then finally, we used to kind of continuously delete node modules of the actual project. So like your own node modules that you are developing with, we used to keep deleting and recreating to kind of get the right version of everything. And that stuff's not cool. So now we go, we install just to get the tooling. So we run Webpack now from the root of your project with the existing npm directory. We run the TS compiler, which is the main part of this change here. So now, though both of those will output into out dist and out webpack, go back to the distribution. We RF node modules, which shouldn't exist anymore because that should have been an empty directory. So I can probably delete that line. In fact, I ought to delete that line because it will be confusing, and future me will look at that and go, "Why do we do that? I don't know. I don't get it." So while we're here, build dist. Let's get rid of that RM-RF node modules because there will not be a node modules in there. And now we're in the dist directory that we actually are going to ship. We're going to install here just the production things we need. And then we delete some of the things that we know we definitely don't want, which is we don't want to store the cache. We don't care about that. And Monaco, which is the editor we use, is packaged in a very different way and comes in through Magic and Webpack. So we delete that out of the things we ship. There's no need to ship that. Then we can get rid of all the TS files because we don't need them either. And then the rest of the thing is now packaging up the 2 output files, one of which is the release filename.tar.xz, and then one that is release filename.static.tar.xz. So this file here is the source that is going to be unpacked on the Compiler Explorer machines when they run. This one here is going to be uploaded to our CDN and is served directly from that CDN, so that we don't have to like serve half the files. It makes it more responsive, something CloudFront, caching, all those good things. So that looks good to me. We will have to check to make sure. I'm going to add to my list. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'll add to my list in the PR where we won't forget about it. That's the whole point of putting it in here. Let's just check that everything works with the CDN. Check the CDN works as before. Wonderful. So we've built over here, and the build number is 2633. So we're going to go builds list. So CE is our own tool that manages a whole bunch of stuff. This machine that I'm on the left-hand side here that has the green tmux session here is a login shell on our administration node where the administrators, which includes some folks who are on the stream right now, can share so that we all know where we stand with all of the whatever's going on in terms of managing the system. We have a Discord channel as well, so we always sort of say, hey, I'm doing stuff, but they all know that I am mucking around with this. So here you can see here are all the branches or versions of the code that are available for me to deploy. And for our staging environment, which is the default environment, if I don't specify an environment, it picks staging. The current one is this branch build startup TSC at 2578. Well, we know we want 2633. So I'm going to do C builds plural set current GH 2633. And I have to sort of do the are you sure, pressing the button. And it says, no, but this is a branch, right? So did you mean to deploy a branch? This is all like hard-won mistakes that have been made over the years deploying to the real production. And then it's going to tell me about compiler discovery. This is something that we're still thinking about. Compiler discovery is where we run everything and then save off all that list of compilers. Well, you know, that all the stuff with the caching, we save that off. I haven't done that, and it should still be fast because the cache should work. There's a jury out about whether or not we are going to decommission this whole idea or not. And now we get this unfortunate error that I have seen before. Something has changed. What this means, and I don't know that I have a way of forcing this. So we're trying to deploy files to our CDN. That's a content delivery network. I perhaps should have said that earlier. It's like a static content serving system. We're trying to deploy there. Every file that we ever write to that CDN is immutable forever. We never change it again. That means we can set the cache times for anything that reads that to be infinite. And that's great for speed of loading the page. When we deploy assets, though, we check that we aren't overwriting some asset that we have previously written with different contents. And that is what's happening here. So what this means is that this noscript.v8.blah.js.map, where this blah should be a hash that uniquely identifies this file, this has actually changed. That means that we have yet another problem in our sort of deployment CDN system, or rather our Webpack system, I should say, which means that we are able to generate different files each time. Sorry, different contents to a file that has otherwise not changed. And it's bizarre that it's always this noscript.blah.js.map. I don't know what's going on there. I think that's a clue. Now, as it happens, that's a map file, so I probably don't care. I don't know that I have a way of forcing this, though. No, it is not. So I don't know that we can that I can work around that. So this V8 that's in the middle of here is like a version number we bump when this happens. And that is deeply unfortunate because we're going to have to wait for another build. Another thing I can do is just go onto the CDN and delete this file as I upload it, which is cheesy, but it's a map file, so it's not even a main file. So I think I'm going to do that just to save time. mg startup tsc. Okay, so we want to go here, and now you get to see the other part of this. So I'm going to go to AWS directly for this particular one. I'm going to log in here, and I'm going to have to type in my one-time doodad. So 314015. Nope, that was not right. Oh, it just changed. Okay. Yeah, you're asking to do a diff. It's a map file. It's a nightmare, and all these are compressed, like JavaScript obfuscated compressed stuff anyway. So diffing them is really, really, really unfortunate. It's probably worth doing at some point. Okay, so this is on S3. You get to see all the other things I run. Then we do some sorts of careful cecdn.net is the name of our CDN. And then in here somewhere, we're going to find that file. Let's see if this will find it. There it is. Hello. And goodbye. Delete. So, whoops. Yes. Terrible, terrible, terrible hack. There it is. I guess I should have downloaded it first. You're absolutely right. Doing a diff. Yeah. I see what you said now, Christopher, and I regret my life choices. Because I could at least had a go at seeing what was different, right? And it might have been a clue. Well, next time. Next time, Gadget. Oh, dear. Okay. Excuse me. So, we have now deployed that version. That doesn't mean it's running. This is still the old version. So what I need to do now is restart the instances. And this is in staging. Staging, yes. And off it goes. So we've got two ways of restarting our instances to pick up new versions. One is to actually just bring a whole new computer up, right? These are cheap to make, these virtual machines. Another is to restart the service that's running on that machine, which is what this is doing. Now, in order to restart the machine, we have to first of all put it into standby, which means that our load balancer, which currently is redirecting traffic to that particular machine, anything going to godbolt.org/staging goes to this particular machine that's running this version of the code, if we were to just restart the service on it, then the load balancer would go, wait a second, that machine has stopped responding. I'm going to kill it and make a new one. So in order to not have that happen, we put it into standby mode and set it out, which means that the load balancer will no longer send traffic to it. Unfortunately, now we have to wait for the traffic to drain off of that machine. Now, there is no down traffic to this machine unless you all are hitting it behind the scenes. So we just have to wait a while. And I do want to change that amount. So why don't we have a look while we're waiting. So over here, this is a different repository. All of this stuff is open source, right? Literally everything. Oh, it's done it now. Literally everything is open source, which means you can look at how we do all of this stuff. That CE tool is open source. There is a C_install tool, which is open source, which you can also go and get, and you can use it to install Ubuntu compilers for all the things that compiler supports, except for the proprietary compilers, which are obviously not free and have licenses and all that kind of nonsense. So somewhere buried in here is the amount of time it takes for us to drain nodes. And I have to try and remember where that is. Auto-scaling load balancer. There we are. This sounds about right. This is all the configuration for our load balancer. And it will be one of these million things in here that controls how long it takes to drain. So I'm just going to search for the word drain in case that's useful. No. Drain in the whole project. No, and for some reason the IDE is showing me everything, not just my own code. Why are you showing me that? So this idle timeout, I'm not sure what that is, of 1 minute. We might have to read the manual, you know. So we're waiting for the instances to. This is just busy time while I'm waiting for the restart to happen over there. So let's say AWS ALB drain time Terraform target group. One of these things. Drain deregistration drain. Default value is 300 seconds. Did that seem about right? I wonder if that is it. Maybe it is just the default. So let's go back to here and search for health. No, it's ALB target group. Oh, it's a target group. TG then is where we are. Aha, deregistration rate. A minute to kick off old connections. There we are. Look, previous me thought that this was worth commenting. So we have a minute to kick off old connections. That seems remarkably high. I mean, if you've got a compilation that takes a minute, then obviously that's a problem. All right, well, this is now taken long enough that I'm starting to wonder if it's not working. So let's have a look at Paper Trail and see what on earth is going on here. So this is staging still. Okay. It has just been killed by the looks of it. I just saw this pop up 15:45. So it looked like it has been terminated by the health check, which doesn't seem very good. Let's refresh this page in case it was just more me mucking around. No, there is like it's probably too small for you to see, but there's like a half an hour between the last thing that was me testing whether or not the sponsors worked and the assembly instructions popped up okay, and now it says sigterm. So I'm going to have to create a new terminal over here and do C instances login. And there's no instance there. Of course, it's probably been killed. So let's go to EC2 and take a look at what happened. Not there. Actually, this will work. This will do. We're going to look at the staging group, instance management. There is our instance, which is currently protected from scaling in because we're doing work on it. But it's not appearing because it's not healthy. So I'm going to steal its IPv4 address. And let's log into it here, yes, and say, what all happened to you? Journal ctl -u compiler explorer -c requires an argument. Ah, that is interesting. Okay, this is an issue I have recently introduced, which is unrelated to this. This is something that someone on Discord helped us with, but it looks like it probably doesn't work when there are no arguments at all. So that's a whole other thing. I'm going to add that to my list. We've got CDN test, which we've already noticed about. And we've got, what's the thing called? This is mount all when empty, which never happens under normal circumstances. Now I think I can probably trick this out by going sudo umount that, and then doing service compiler explorer restart. Sudo service compiler explorer restart. Sudo make me a sandwich. Okay, journal cuttle, all the things. Journal cuttle, blah. Okay, so off it's going. Running again, and now it worked now because I gave it exactly one thing it could do. So it's now unpacking. Can I do -F? Is that a thing you can do here? Yes. Okay, brilliant. So unpacked, it's running. Hopefully if we go back now to our no, not you. Waiting for instances to be online. Go back to our auto. Oh yeah, now it's everything is awesome because it's up and healthy, and we're now putting it into back into service. So now it will start receiving what's it called? Receiving traffic. Now it will start being health checked by the load balancer. Is it possible to load Compiler Explorer in a text mode browser inside a term? Yes, my friend, it is. Let's have a look at this. godbolt.org, no script. Here is Compiler Explorer in a browser, in a text mode browser. We can compile it, and we got that. It's not very sophisticated, but it does work. And ironically, this is the very thing for which there is a map file for the JavaScript for the no script. Doesn't make any sense. But yes, anyway, you can do that. All right, everything is up and back. Let's go and do our test. So I'm going to move this over to the right-hand side. That's the left-hand side, the other right. I'm going to refresh this page. Fabulous. We've got the consent thing popping up, which is unfortunate. So I'm going to close it, and I'm going to load up the existing regular Compiler Explorer and make sure I've agreed to the cookies that are here, because these are the ones we currently have on our live site. So having agreed to these now, my browser will have stored the hash of those files. And so now I've agreed to those specific privacy policies and cookie policies. So now I go to staging, and hopefully it won't tell me that they're different. Yes. Okay, that's great. That's what I wanted to see. That means that the privacy policy and cookie policy now work. Hooray! Let's just make sure they actually pop up, and it says, yeah, I don't know where in this does it actually show the last change. That's what I'm interested in now. Darn it. Last change is empty. That doesn't make sense. Because that was the problem. Let me get the live site. Yeah, okay. So something is still not quite right, rather unfortunately. So I've just ticked that. No. So it doesn't think that they have changed anymore now, but we are still unfortunately serving the one that is empty. So the question is, where is it getting that file from? And I wonder if there are just disagreements about when that file gets captured and placed inside the output here. I don't think it's a huge deal breaker, but we do want to have that. That's an important thing for people to understand the differences in what has changed from the last time that they've agreed. Okay, so check the CDN works as before. I wonder if it's related to that. I don't actually know where the privacy policy comes from. I think it's under bits. So if we do that, if we do that with the... No? Is it built into into the app, in which case do we need to do that? Oh, my word. I think I know what's happening here. Yeah, I wonder if the privacy policy that's being built needs to is part of the Webpack image. And if it is, then all the work that I just did to do the Webpacking out of place won't work. So that is a bit of a unfortunate deal breaker. Yeah, that is almost certainly what is happening. Let's try and find some evidence for that. So if I go back to my my local machine here, I've got apparently one file changed. Oh yeah, that's right, we did get rid of that node modules. If I go into my out dist directory and look inside static policies privacy.html, we can see that that built image does in fact have the last change, which is great. But I think that the way that we actually show those inside Compiler Explorer itself, let's search for cookies. Let's do privacy.html. Is so get file hash looks for that particular file, which is great. But when we show, so that's picking up this file, which is why we don't see a change between the two staging and the non-staging versions of Compiler Explorer. This hash here is reading from that file, but I wonder now where the pop-up is coming from. I think, yeah, it's from here. And so this require will be done at Webpack time. And at this point, unfortunately, this file refers to the in-tree version, not the build version that has been modified. So what we used to do when we built is that we would modify the in-tree copy of this file. And really didn't want to do that because it leaves you with changes all over your file system that you otherwise don't want. You know, you don't want to check in those changes. They're not what we want. They're just automatically generated build files. Now, things like the changelog also does not work for the same reason. Yeah, that is exactly what I'm wondering. If we can do a lazy load here, that would solve the problem. So Luca has suggested doing a lazy load. I don't quite know how to do that off the top of my head, and I don't know. We have this whole bits thing that is used to do, for example, this pop-up here, which is what I was looking for. So this sponsors.html, where are we? We can copy link address, and I can show you that it comes from bits sponsors.html. That's like another thing that we just grab dynamically, so we can do that. But I don't know why. I'm not sure what the right solution is, because it's nice to be able to require them. That's just a nice thing. And I don't know that lazily doing it is going to necessarily help here, because depending on how the resolver works, it might still resolve it to the wrong spot. But it might work. Let's see if I can reproduce this locally. That's an important step. So if I go to out, am I in outdist? I am in outdist. Fabulous. And if I go env node env equals productions, blah 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 blah. Zoop. Okay, and then we hit localhost 10240. Right, this is not going to work because there isn't a CDN to serve all of the files that aren't here. So that's one other problem. But we should be able to get some of this to... I guess it's not going to work with the JavaScript. Darn it, I've got the reverse problem now. I think if I do static and then tell it that the static stuff is inside .webpack, is that going to work? Oh, Webpack static. That might work. No, still getting 404s for the static content there. Maybe that's. I'm trying to remember. We used to have a degree of freedom in terms of getting this working. No, all right. Well, I can definitely do a cheesy thing where I say let's ln ... webpack static star into my static directory here, and then try running it like this. Yeah, sorry, there's not much. There will be almost no C++ in this. Seems to be my my way. Okay, so we can sort of reproduce it in an ugly way that's unsatisfying to me. But let's have a look at the cookie policy, and yeah, we're missing up here the thing there, you know, the old thing. We're missing the last change. So what we want to do is find out if there is an easy way to do the build of the code where like requirements come from a different place, or as you say, Luca, we do this lazily. Policies, and it's going to be like changelog as well. Yeah, see that .default. Is there a way to do that? I don't know enough about how this works. So let's get to the so Webpack lazy require load something. Lazy loading on demand is a great way. Yes, optimize your site or application. Love it. Okay, and then button blah import. Then note that when using import, you must reference the .default property, which we're doing over here, as the actual module when the promise is resolved. Okay. So this is, in theory, looks somewhat lazy. I don't know, though, for sure. Print. We used to await import. Create. That's not the most clear thing. Okay, code splitting. Leave Lodash, or is it talking about Lodash? I don't know if that's exactly the same thing. What if you just tried to require static file? I think that's what it was doing, right? If we go back to the original code inside privacy.html. I mean, that is what we're doing. We're like literally including /policies. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So it's saying relative to me, policies privacy.html. Server-side render. I don't know what that would mean in this context here. I mean, I can definitely do a fetch. I mean, where do I use the bits? Oh, so much junk in here. Let's go and look at how the sponsor stuff works. Sponsor.js. Clickify. Sponsors.html. Well, I mean, that just uses, you know, that trickery, which is not very rewarding either. That's not a great way of working. Yeah, it's just weird that these are different. I wonder if we can... I wonder if there's a different way of doing it. If we can put something in the Webpack configuration itself and say, hey, when you're packing these files, these things are different. Which would then like put the code in a place. Like if we're in production, we're going to say no, actually go and read it from the out dist where we know it should be, or even we can get this to run the darn code itself. You know, the fact that we have this as a strange post process is very unidiomatic for web development. So perhaps the right way to do this whole thing is to not have a funny little Python program, which is what we currently use. But where are we? Yeah, so you know, it's a tiny bit of Python program runs git log a couple of times and then replaces something, but instead actually has some work that to run on during Webpack, and then this whole thing goes away. That seems more idiomatically correct to me. So I might do that. I think that is. I think that makes the most sense. Is like do it where it's meant to be done. And so this is a small piece of code to potentially port. Changelog is a bigger piece of code, but we can potentially do it. So how do we feel about that? Right, well, I think I'm going to take a very short break and pace around a tiny bit, and I think I might come back and do it that way. I think that makes the most sense to me, but we'll see in a moment. So be back in no more than 5 minutes. No less than 20 seconds, but no more than 5 minutes. All right, back in a second. Okay, the return. So it occurs to me we might be able to get the best of all worlds and have what's-its-face, Webpack here, run the Python code to do the copy, because this is effectively what it's doing. It's like this is the thing that causes the file to get copied to its destination. So that would be pretty cool, I think. And then there's the whole bit to do with where we get the hash, which is a bit suspicious as well, which Webpack could probably do. Oh no, because that's on the server. We'll see. Either way, let's just see if it is somewhat straightforward, which nothing is in Webpack land in my experience, to have some particular files, modules, static and node modules. So this is where it's presumably finding some files, rules for these types of things here. Okay, let's get my shell up and get myself into a position where I feel make npm run, what can I do? npm run webpack, webpack. So let's just make sure I can in fact do this, and this will by default output to outdist webpack, which then leaves us with the problem of those files themselves. Oh, but those files don't exist anywhere. How is that working? Must be a loader thing. Maybe this is too complicated. Maybe I don't understand enough about how this works. Pre-build hook. Yeah, the problem with the pre-build hook really is that it's still going to build it. I mean, I can build it wherever I like. I just don't want to build it where it thinks it is. I want to tell it, no, it's not there. It's somewhere else. Yeah, maybe that's ready. So Webpack loader filter substitution is kind of what we're doing here. We want to like take something and make changes to it as it's being loaded in. And this is almost certainly far too complicated for what I want it to do. File loader. What does a file loader do? So that allows you to do this, and that's what we're almost certainly using. HTML loader is here. Right, so anything that ends in .html gets loaded by the HTML loader. Okay, HTML loader. That makes some level of sense. Let's go and have a look at what options. Preprocessor. Ahaha. Preprocessor function. So this lets you do some amount of magical stuff, which was nice. Rewrite it in C++. That sounds like a winning possibility. Yeah, I'm getting right on that. Okay, so out Webpack static and all this stuff here. So somewhere buried in there, we presume, is the content of our politics. So let's have a look at cookies.html. Let's find some piece of text. Compiler Explorer uses Google Analytics. Right, we're going to grep for that inside there. I know it's a directory. Oh, great. -n. No, -l. So yeah, it just gets embedded directly in the JavaScript, which is, great. So there's an argument coming back to Luca now of maybe just going there. There's an argument that says, yeah, don't use this approach for these things. Just fetch them on demand. Certainly seems to be the easier way. This is Luca's original observation, and I'm warming to it now because this I don't want to embed this text into my thing. How many people actually click on it? So I'm going to walk back and just see how hard it would be to get like cookies.html and alert system.ask require that. This would be that same get type thing that we saw for the sponsors. Yes, load sponsors from stream. No, darn it, sponsors.html. So this comes from bits sponsors. That's a different directory. So lib static. Where does this actual sponsors.html get created? Getting myself in a bit of a tizzy here. Unless I can say don't bring it in. Maybe there's some flag inside this that says, hey, no, use a fetch to do it instead of actually inlining it. There must be something. Okay, HTML options, sources, pre-processing, minimize, module syntax. That's nothing there. So maybe that's not the right way to do it. URL loader, which makes a URL thing, yeah. And so I'm sure these things, it's a limit where it either hashes it or it puts it, works like file loader. Oh, maybe it just needs to be used like a file loader. Because then, Oh, this is definitely the blind leading the blind here, isn't it? So file loaders we have. Do we have a file loader? We may not have a file loader. File loader? No. Okay, why don't we use the file loader for HTML instead of the HTML loader? And see if that means that it's going to actually go and fetch it. Oh my golly. So let us do out Webpack, just to make sure we're not doing anything clever. npm run Webpack. Wonder what other things we're loading that are HTML. Require .star HTML. So changelog ANSI to HTML. Well, that's different. All right, looks like we're only requiring those things, which maybe is fine then. Although these requires are not awaiting anything, so that makes me suspicious that they are not going to work. We'll give it a go and we'll see what happens. Good grief, this takes a while. I guess it's using the production run, which means it's trying to do all the minimization, and we've got Monaco and other things which take a long time. Okay. Warnings. Sure, fine, whatever. So let's repeat our grep, and now we have a static file that is just some giant splat of things, which is obviously not going to work because that's not its real file name yet. So the problem about fetching the file is that it needs to be uniquely named, or we have to deal with all of the consequences of serving it up and making sure it's not cached and all that kind of nonsense. So that is unfortunate. I don't think I want to do that either. So I'm going to put that back to HTML loader. But yeah, I wonder if I can come up with a clever way of substituting in the correct path for that specific rule. Can we say, if it's an HTML and it's the cookies or the whatever, then actually in production mode, go and steal it from the correct location. That would mean we'd have to do that first in the build. So the moment we do create any auto-generated files, yeah, we do it at this point. Now, obviously, a cheesy way would be to copy these darn files over the code and then revert them afterwards. That's horrible. I don't want to do that. So I think the right thing to do now is to somehow try and subvert the file path. There was something in here that lets you do that. There was like some resolve things. So let's have a look at Webpack resolve. Is there a way for us to say, hey, when you do import blah alias, can we get like a way of doing this? So yeah, another rule for cookies.html. Yeah, that would work. I wonder if I can just do this though, because we know can I say alias Monaco editor $, it goes to that file there. If I say something like, and this is not going to work for the general case, so I need to make this conditional in a second, but we'll get there. He says, so if we see something looking for, let's do the cookies first of all. Oh, no, is that import? This stuff's so hard to know whether you're going to be doing it right. These extensions in order. Oh, this is only looking for those. I see. So the resolution thing isn't going to work for those. So maybe you're right, Luca. Is the right thing to do is to somehow hook the HTML loader to replace itself with the right file name, but that seems janky too. I mean, another thing is to change the actual code where we're importing these things to be magical special things that then have to come from the right place. It seems like there should be a really straightforward way of doing this, but of course I'm doing it on hard mode because I don't really understand what I'm doing and I have my own opinions about how things work. Yeah, what is the... Okay, it looks like you can have multiple loaders in a doodad. So can we have a loader that sort of substitutes in a path? It's like the HTML loader already kind of somehow has already resolved whatever's going on. Super simple imports resolving require paths with Webpack. Blah blah blah. Oh no, it's old. Let's not look at these things. File loader, right? We don't want file loader. We want HTML loader. JSON hint loader. No, HTML there it is in the middle. How frustrating. Sources. By default, every loadable attribute is imported. So how does this thing know where to find its darn preprocessor? How does it even know where to find things from? I mean, there must be some magical thing that says, hey, I loaded the stuff for you. Disable URL resolving routes. Resolved.routes directories where server relative URL starting with /resolved. I feel like I'm on the edge of a deep, dark tar pit. And this looks like more complicated stuff than I don't understand. Post HTML. What on earth? I mean, CDNs and routes and things. Export into... You can use post HTML. No, what is this? Extract. Very common scenarios. Exporting HTML into our own .html to serve them directly instead of injecting with JavaScript. Ahaha! This can be achieved with a combination of two loaders: extract loaders, HTML loader, and asset modules. The HTML loader will parse the URLs required, the images, and everything expected. I don't want to do that. This sounds much more complicated than I need. But this says asset resource generator file name. Well, again, the file name isn't going to help me here because we still need the files themselves. It's the source that I want to monkey with, which is maybe not specific to HTML. Maybe this is like all loaders. There are some like parameters that we can play around with to say, no, this is where I mean you to get these things from. Loaders. Let's look at the very top. Files. Raw. Ref loaders. Transpiling, templating, styling. So this doesn't seem right. I think I must be missing something. Loaders are activated by using loader name, pling prefixes and require. Okay, I'm going to call shenanigans on this because I haven't got, unfortunately, got the patience for this now. I've got half an hour to go before I need to get off and have some lunch and then go on to do the next stream for Jens and meeting C++. So what tactical things can we do here? It seems like there should be a straightforward way of doing this. I can just copy and then revert in a horrible way the code in the actual directory, the policy directory, right? So here where I'm copying these things over on purpose, and then I'm updating the files over the top of them with that just has to happen in the actual root, which is horrible. I was trying to avoid it. But it does work. It just offends my sensibilities, where a build should not mutate code in your repository. So we can definitely do that now. And then what? Yeah, maybe it's because of the relative import as well. It's like we're deliberately in the code here doing, ./privacy.html. ./policies here. So if we were to have some other magical thing that said, no, the real privacy one. Otherwise it's a get, isn't it? And then we need a way of getting the static data actually copied to the right spot. And that isn't happening at the moment, so they're not being placed in there because it's not a resource that we want. And if we did put it there, then it would be served forever with infinite cache validity. So that wouldn't work either. So, I'm going around in circles. This is the worst kind of thing. Ideally, what we want to do is to just make this require actually look like out dist. So let's hack this in the most grotesque way. Out dist static. Oh, it'd be ... whatever. Yeah, okay. That's horrid. It's so hateful and horrible. But we can perhaps make this... can we somehow put something here that sort of is more magical? Like ./policies, obviously that's referring to a very specific thing. If I turn this into moo, all right, that's stupid. There's some kind of loader. So my loader pling privacy.html. So let's call it policy loader. Right. And then if we were to do, and I'm just going to do make, this is now experimenting in the worst possible way. So sorry everyone, you're just getting to see me flounder around. I want to see what kind of failure happens in this situation. I want it to basically throw up and say, hey, that's not a thing. Which it hasn't done yet. So we'll give it time. Localhost 1024, and it's still actually doing the web packing. And I'm expecting there to be an error going, I don't know what a policy loader is. There we go. Can't resolve blah. Wonderful. That is actually what I want. So, can I provide my own paths, my own loader to do this work? Or is there one that already does what I want it to do? Or can I use the resolver to add the right thing in? What does a loader look like? Can we go and find? Let's go and find to the source code. All right, HTML loader. What do you look like? Getting started. Love it. All right, so import blah blah blah. You'll need to install HTML loader. Love it. So let's go. No, not that. That's not what I meant. And you knew it. I want. Okay, HTML loader. What do you look like, HTML loader? You can't be that complicated. Ho, 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 famous last words. Options.sources. What is sources? Talk to me about sources. Oh, that was the. I think that was the thing about whether it followed like image source and stuff like that, which obviously we don't want it to do in this instance. Const plugin runner plugin.process content. Well, options.preprocessor content. Where the heck is content coming from? I see. It comes from here. The loader has already been passed the content. So something is resolving this nonsense beforehand. So how do we fix up this whole resolution thing ahead of time? And Webpack is over here. So this resolve Webpack. How do we monkey this? Because we're back to resolve.alias. Create aliases to import or require certain modules more easily. Okay, alias. What if we called one of these things? Let's just try this now. What? Where? Where did I put the... there is it. Privacy.html. Let's just say, let's call this just privacy.html. Now, there's all this nonsense about extensions down here, which is deeply suspicious to me. But for now, I'm going to try and see if we can do this. So this would then go to out dist what? Yeah, it can't resolve privacy. Of course you can't, because you haven't reloaded that. Out dist, and this is probably the wrong directory and everything, because this is, you know, dot slash. This probably needs to be dot let. Don't even know what directory this is anyway. Out, not Webpack, dist static policies privacy.html. There it is. That's what we think, and this is not going to work. This is clearly not going to work at all. But we can but hope that there is some kind of process here. That Monaco editor dollar, is this a regular expression, or are we actually importing it that way? Is this sort of saying anything that ends in Monaco editor? Where are we doing require dot star Monaco? Yeah, I think that's just saying anything that requires it. Okay, well, we've got 100 years to wait before the Webpack stuff finishes, because it takes so darn long, and we've got no confidence at all that this is going to do anything that works. Can't resolve this. Okay, yes, that's not all that surprising. Maybe because of these extensions here. So let's add .html. Why wouldn't we? And then we have to restart this. Is one of the things I think that the reloading stuff doesn't actually work with. Or maybe it does. Who knows? So another 100 years will pass. And we will see. This is not the most exciting stream, I appreciate. And I'm very pleased to have the 8 of you who have stuck through to this point with me still. Yesterday was a little bit more interesting. We actually got some progress rather than me floundering. This whole week off is supposed to be my way of getting a load of stuff done that, yeah, I couldn't do that in compiler for a static. So why don't we try ... I mean, again, this can't work in the general case. We'd actually have to put in something which resolves in one place one way and in a different place another way, if that makes sense. Yes, that's right. If you do listen close, you can hear the screams of children whose souls are being tortured by Webpack 2. Now, the school opposite me is the source of that, unfortunately. So, yeah. Oh, Luca, thank you for making me feel better. Lucas just said that he does this professionally and he's about as good at it as I am, which I don't think is true because you've helped me a number of times in this stream. But it does feel like there's a lot of floundering around here. Like I think with C++ projects, I kind of know where I stand. I know the things to expect. I know things that are difficult. I have a sort of instinct about which things should be done in particular ways. And so when I've got a project and I get it set up the way that I like it, I'm very productive in it. I like to think I'm very productive in it. Well, nothing has gone wrong yet, actually. I'm just realizing that holy McSmoke. So which one did we do? We did privacy. It only worked, everyone. So we can do this with an alias that resolves differently if we're in production versus development. So when we're in development, it will not expect there to be this outdist static, which is naff, but it's a start. So the question is, can I actually get that to go back to how it was before? So we know that we can, in principle, get this working, which is a lovely thing. Can I make that work in the same way so that I don't actually have to modify the code at the place? So the code makes sense in situ, and it's just like the sort of ex machina magical, no, really, I meant this thing. We'll see. We'll see if that works. These appear to be regular expressions, though, judging from the $sign here. So the / is almost certainly not right. There's a special required. That is a fair point. Okay, yeah, let's just call this. Yeah, that is a fair point. So Lucas' point is using a bit more of a unique alias key, so you know that it's magic and special. That's a fair thing. So we're going to need 3 of these, and we're going to need to make them optionally do the needful thing. So let's what can we call these things to make it make sense? So generated, let's just something like that, and then this will become generated / privacy.html, and it's going to complain module is not installed. Yeah, I know it isn't, but it's here. So now I've got that to worry about. Well, yeah, we're one thing at a time. So we're going to need privacy. We're going to need the other one. Oh, my brain hurts. Cookies. And that's policies cookies. So yeah, cookies. Now watch me type cookies here to make sure that I get that right. And I need to come back and make them some magical conditional thing going, oh, can't resolve that. That's fine because it's trying to reload and it doesn't auto reload the Webpack configuration. You can't change both of those at the same time. And then the last one was the, don't tell me, HTML require, whoops, come on, computer, require generated privacy. Oh yeah, we need this to be generated cookies.html, and then the other one is changelog. Yes, so this will be generated changelog.html, something like that. And then we need to put generated a changelog, and this will also be, now that one's in the root of this changelog.html. Right, let's get this working first, and then we'll get the conditional nonsense in that will make it work. Static pling. Okay. Yeah, if we can do static pling, sorry, yeah, you know what I mean. Pling. The thing is that then that will start to look for I think it'll parse that out. I can't, do you know if we can put the exclamation point, which I will call pling because I'm old and British, can I put that in and not have it also mean that is the plugin that I want to use? Like this, that usually controls which loader you're going to be getting. So generated might make sense if I could. Well, anyway, let's see if this has worked. So I'm going to reload it. Oh, I'm going to press the wrong key, and something weird's going to happen. I'm going to reload the page, and then we're going to look at the policies. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, it's glorious. Oh, it couldn't be better. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And then and then what? Brain, come on, you can do this. Right, what I want to do is rm-rf out dist make dev again. This should break now because that distribution, this is like how I would normally be developing. So I want it to break so that I can test the is dev not is dev type thing. So we're going to say, while it's going, everything's working. Any minute now it should complain bitterly and not work, which is what we want. Oh, it's so excited. That's great. That's what we wanted. So, is dev query dot else dot out dist. And then we're going to need some horrible explanatory comment for this. So I think if I put it here, and then of course do the thing there. You and you and you get a car and you get a car. You get a surprising tax burden. Okay. So down the line, so yeah, generated files are served in place in development as they aren't. I guess this is updated. Actually generated. Yeah, that's a terrible name. I'm going to say modified. Modified, something like that. Now we're going to change everything. Modified HTML root. Modified files aren't actually modified. Modified, but modified. God, how can I spell? How many ways can I misspell that? But in release, we expect them in the out dist there. Modified versions in the out directory. Modified. Now I'm going to quickly try that because I do like it. So let's see if we can get this one working. I prefer it. It's more honest, and it will also shut my IDE up, I think. Yay. Okay, so generated slash. Oh, no. There actually is a real generated thing. Darn it. Come on, computer. Mr. Frodo. We're having modified playing. Modified playing. Isn't going to work, but going to try it anyway. Oh, my liver seems to have finally kicked in now. I feel like either that or the ibuprofen I took is. So those who follow me on Twitter have probably realised I've knackered my back, hurt my back in the week. So I'm also suffering from back pain. So I took 2 ibuprofen this morning for my back pain, but really to try and hide my hangover. Well, I am surprised, pleasantly surprised. Oh, no, can't resolve modified. Can't resolve privacy.html in static. So I may have mucked something up there. I have. Can't resolve modified. That sounds bad, but this thing here sounds like it's trying to. Yeah, it's not doing exactly what I would want. So let's go back to this approach for now. And all of these just need to be modified. Slash next. Come on. Next. I have used this ID before. I know it doesn't appear that way. That one. Next. That one. Fine. Now, there's an argument I should just use this sponsors bits thing here. Oh, yeah. It's just asynchronous versus synchronous. The sponsors is giant, so no one wants to load that up, but the other stuff is kind of important, I think. I don't know. I could go either way, and really, I'm running out of steam, as you probably can tell. Something is not like a directory. Yeah. What do we suggest here, then? What kind of character could we use? Does that work? Can we use a hash character? Oh, we couldn't. Oh no, that didn't work either. So we've broken something. Oh dear. Well, now I'm very confused. I seem to have accidentally broken it completely because this stuff wasn't working either. So we've taken a sort of step back, changing too many things at the same time. So we added this thing here that says in dev mode, which this should be. We're going to put a dot there, which means it should be dot static policies cookies.html, which should work. But it didn't. Darn it. We briefly, just for a tiny spot of time, we had some success there, didn't we? You saw it too, I'm sure. It's not dot slash static. Well, there is static changelog, static policies, cookies. They're in different places for each of these files. So I think it is dot static and then policies, which it is here for cookies, and then there's cookies and privacy, and then there's dot slash static changelog, which I don't know why is just in the root here. So those things should probably just not be there, right, and be served up some other way, like we suggested before. But let's okay. 22 BOGO MIPS. That's not enough BOGO MIPS. You shouldn't be compiling anything on a machine that slow. Was it a Raspberry Pi or something? You can cross compile, surely. You are angry because of hub.ts, which we're going to ignore. 10 minutes, we can do this. Can't resolve that because of this. Now, we thought we had it working before when I just had hard coded it and I made it always. See, Webpack configurant for development is what it logs, which is up here, development. So that means that we are definitely is dev, which means that is dev is definitely true, which means that this is definitely dot, which means this is definitely dot slash static policies cookies.html, which I'm fairly sure is the right answer in this particular instance. Because, or is it relative to the directory where it was being? Oh, do you think? Do you think it's that? That would be awful. Because it's essentially the directory is the exactly. It is is it relative to the files imported? I think it is, Luca. That's exactly what's happening here. Womp womp. So that is not ideal because we now need to kind of give it the either we just get the darn path, yeah, like here, manifest path dir name, and use that, So that becomes just dir name, or it becomes where is the other path.resolve apparently is what we're doing for all this other stuff. Out dist. Sure. Right. Reload the page. Yeah. Okay, so that worked. Final approach. Here we are. It's going to work now. It's going to work. Exactly. Look, yeah. So I'm just catching up with the chat. Exactly. That should be the full path. That dir name should be the full path. It's a resolved. It could be reserved too. Who knows? Magical journey. Why there are 20 people here? It's beyond me. I'm sorry that it's not more interesting than 20 people. So we're going to reload this page, and when it reloads, we'll know what's going on. This is not a great solution. I think still the right solution really is to write my own loader that does that magic as it's pulling the file in, and then we know where we are. But undefined reference to main, hooray. Okay, so because we're in debug and developer mode, there should be nothing here, and there is nothing there. That is expected. There should be nothing here, and that is expected. There should be nothing here, and that is as expected. Excuse me. So that means I can develop as per normal. Then, if I just run make, it's going to run it for production. That is a pain. That is not going to work. Because now, unless I've also done the build, yeah, that's a pain. It's like almost like there is like another command line option to this Webpack that says, no, actually, please use information here, which we can do, but that's also dreadful. Yeah, the screaming of children continues. So the thing I'm worried about here is that this make, which is how some people will run Compiler Explorer, will fail now. I think it will fail now because it won't be able to find those out dist files, because that's part of our build process for Compiler Explorer, the website, not just a general. Yeah. So now it's saying I can't find these things because they don't exist, and they don't, and I don't want to have to make it work that way. So I think it feels like this is like another command line sort of option that the build process can say, hey Webpack, run Webpack. Can I pass other arguments to this? Please use Webpack help. All right, suit yourself. Incorrect use of help. Please use help. Oh, really? Is there config? Provide a... Oh, no, that's the actual config name. Name of the configuration to use. Environment. Environment past the configuration when it is a function. Oh, that's... The what now? I mean, I can set any amount of command line environment variables. That smells nastily, though, doesn't it? But it is kind of what I was thinking. Oh, how deeply unsatisfying. Commands build. Maybe can I do build -- help? Does that give me more? Yes. Build bundle blah. I don't understand what it means. Environment passed to the configuration when it is a function. It's like, what do you mean? Oh, I guess this is a function. Can it be? Who knows? No, nothing obvious goes on here. I mean, here we're using a sort of brittle thing here for like it being production. Oh, I see. Oh, well. Kind of just want a... let's just see if I can do some heinous thing here. What if we did something like const modified HTML root equals process dot env dot modified file or dir name modified file dir, and then make work here. I don't like it, and I'm sure there's a more nice. I'm so sorry. And then here we're going to say, you know, real path. Oh no, equals root slash out dist, and the whole thing of that needs to be in a no, that works. So if this works, then we're probably okay for the make normal thing. If this works, then I hate myself and I will think about this some more, but we're getting close to something which could work as a solution. And I am getting closer to needing to eat before going to Jens's meeting C++ tool time thing, which will be another couple of hours of talking. Lucky I like talking, eh? Okay, so that did work for some definition of work, right? I'm not... No, I should just test this. While we're here, I will test that it actually did work for the non-dev compiler explorer local build, which is to say... Oh, why have you got dev middleware in? That is a mistake. That's a different mistake, though. That's all right. Okay, so we have dev middleware in make. It's a new exciting problem that has come in. So now we're doing the work twice, right? We did all that web packing work, hooray, and then we didn't use it. We just went and built it anyway. So stupidness, but it is working here. Wonderful. And so now we're going to do env node env one of these many things, GitHub there. We're going to build a distribution now. And it's going to take a little while. I will leave this up. I need to stretch my legs again, and more importantly, move my back around. So it's starting to seize up now. I should probably get a hot water bottle. But I want to get to a point where we at least look like a shape of the solution is here. So I'm going to mute, stretch, maybe walk around the house, and be back in a couple of moments. But I'll leave this on for the exciting view of all the things that are going to be broken by the time I get back. Okie dokie. So it built. So we're now going to outdist. I did that horrible symlink thing to get all of the static files in. Blah. Then we're going to try node env equals production. Run it locally. Fingers crossed. And the policies have changed because they're no longer empty. Ah, it's working. It's working. That's what I wanted to see, because these have changed from the empty policies. Okay, so that works. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It feels like we're doing this in hard mode because I haven't invested the time, or I don't have enough confidence to write a Webpack plugin that just does it as it loads it, right? That would make the most sense. It would be just to say like, hey, these files don't even exist anywhere. We're just going to bring them in and create them on demand by just saying, you know, include whatever. So I think I need to look at that, and that will probably be me spending some time studying that approach and porting the last modified thing over, because that's all. There are two things that we do. We put a last modified time in which it queries Git, and that might be straightforward to do with the existing HTML loader after all, which would then just answer the question. We'd just be done at that point. Everything would be fine. And then the other thing is the history, and the history goes to Git and gets like the last 10 things, which obviously we don't want to do that every time we do a local build. That would be a pain in the ass. But in release builds, we could afford to do it, but just not in a dev build. Something like that. Something like that. Yes. You would, okay, Lucas saying not to write my own loader. Yeah, maybe not my own loader, but certainly if the post process is sane. So if we're going to, while we're spitballing ideas here, and I'm waiting for the kettle to boil to fill up me hot water bottle. This is Webpack 5. Okay, first of all, what version of Webpack are we on? It may not be Webpack 5. Package.json. Webpack. Oh, we are on 5. Excellent. So we're actually looking at old documents before. Who's ever done that, right? HTML loader. Beautiful. Beautiful. Preprocessor. What does a preprocessor get? Preprocessor content before handling as a function instance. So we're giving a string or a buffer and a loader context. For example, so this would be relatively straightforward, I think, to port the last changed thingy across and just do the work here, right? It's a couple of lines of wherever the heck the Python code is. Python. Oui, mais non. Le brain is falling out of my ears. The politic here. So it does 2 Git files and last time and last commit is the 2 things it gets out, and it just does a bit of magic to then substitute in a particular thing in one place with a regex. I think that could be done really easily in a special rule inside the Webpack config. The other one, the changelog, is a bit more involved. Not a lot more involved, but a bit more involved. And so both of them, though, could probably just be done as a post HTML thing. So in fact, this was this post HTML without any additional loaders. What does that mean? It seems like I have to know what post HTML already is. Tool for transforming with JS plugins. Well, you know, that might even be easier than using the regular expression-based thing that we've got. But either way, I think that's what I mean. So I'm going to think about that. But in the meantime, I'm going to sign off now with another unsatisfying day of not quite achieving anything. I will be back working on this afternoon, but I'm not going to stream it as it's pretty knackering. And I'll be talking at tool time. So if you want to continue to listen to me, by all means try and find Jens's tool time meeting C++, and I'll see you there in about an hour's time. Please join the Discord. If you go to the Compiler Explorer GitHub, you'll see that there's a link to the Discord. Come and join us there. I'll post some status updates in there so that you can see whether I've made any progress on this or not. And thank you for being with me. I appreciate the company. It makes me feel slightly better about this. And I may well be pinging Luca like he's suggesting in the down in the comments. So, I guess actually I should have gone to this view. Yeah, I set this whole thing up so that I could talk at you and you don't have to look at all the code all the time. But yeah, thank you for being with me and struggling through the technical difficulties at the beginning. Those have been here at the beginning. And I will see you tomorrow. I aim to do another live stream tomorrow, probably afternoon, so a bit later than this one. Cool. Thank you all, and goodbye.